Peace and blessings. My name is Fazana. I'm a social worker, a learning disabilities nurse with experience in dual diagnosis mental health. I also am a holistic therapeutic life coach with experience in CBT, NLP, as well as a founder of a service called Inspirational Minds that helps people with health, social and emotional needs. So today's topic is about managing fear, anxiety and other thoughts in our mind. So what I'm going to talk about today is not only in relation to the coronavirus, COVID-19, but it's something that you can apply any time of your life, more so now though. So in any crisis, it's normal to experience anxiety, stress, frustration, and a whole ream of different emotions that can actually overpower us. And it's particularly hard to control our emotions when we have no control over the world around us. Just like today, we have no control in relation to whether we can protect ourselves even from this virus. We're all trying our best, but we still don't know whether we may still be infected at any point. It's normal to face fear and anxiety in any crisis, and in particular right now, to be able to manage our emotions is extremely difficult. Some people worry about the risk of infection. They'll continue to wipe door handles, tables before dinner and after dinner, and putting disinfectant. And what we're actually doing a lot of the time is putting a lot of pressure on ourselves, a lot of pressure on our emotional well-being, on our mental health, because we're constantly thinking about how we can overcome getting this virus, which actually none of this is within our means. So when we get to this stage, what we actually need to do is take a step back and kind of think about what we're feeling, what we're doing, why we're doing it, rather than the knee-jerk reaction. So what can you do if you're in a state like this, where you're actually quite overwhelmed, you're quite worried, you're feeling quite anxious? How do you manage such a situation, and how do you clear your head? So the best thing to do is to get a plain piece of paper and do this a couple of times a day. If you need to do it more just as an offload, then it's worth doing. Get a blank piece of paper and write down all your thoughts as it comes. And if it means you just leave that paper out and just keep writing the thoughts through the day, write the thoughts. There's no particular order, just keep letting things out. You can also do, while you're writing the thoughts on the piece of paper, is to take in deep breaths, really deep breaths. I know we've talked about this in the last video that was done. Take some deep breaths whilst you're thinking about what you're going to write, or as the thought is coming in your mind. And as you're writing the thought down, take a deep breath back out. So in a sense, what you're doing is you're taking in the thought into your consciousness, and then you're releasing it onto the piece of paper which is in front of you, which confirms that it's a conscious thought. And you're then in some ways clearing your mind of these thoughts. So with this process of actually writing it down, what you're not doing is losing your thoughts. You're not blocking it, you're not ignoring it, you're not losing it. You're actually acknowledging the thoughts and putting it in a safe place where you can actually then look at it, understand it, try to see why these thoughts are affecting you, and you can analyze your mind in some way. So what if I told you that you're actually free to choose your thoughts? If we don't choose our own thoughts, what we're doing is we're actually being dictated by our thoughts. So the American psychologist and philosopher William James said, your thoughts become your perception become your reality. Alter your thoughts and alter your reality. So what this is really saying is, we don't see the realities of the world outside. What we actually see is the world through the lens of our own perceptions and our own thoughts. So what we need to do is be conscious of our thoughts and understand that those thoughts are dictating the way we feel and the way we see things in the real world. So these thoughts should not always be negative. What we need to do is, if we're just writing negative thoughts, we need to think a little bit harder in regards to the positive thoughts. So for example, the situation we're in now is that we're all at home and we're stuck at home. We're having to manage hygiene more so than before, in the sense of, wiping door handles however many times a day or a week, making sure that everything that comes in the house we wipe down. So these all tend to become very negative parts of our day, But what we need to also focus on is positive thoughts in our mind, such as, I get a lie in because I don't have to drive into work. I get to watch a movie at night because I get a lie in. I get to spend more time with the kids when it's sunny. I'm actually getting time to sit in the garden rather than, be at work. So there are things that we can think about that are positive. So maybe what we need to do is kind of retune our mind and think about positive things as opposed to just the negative thoughts that keep coming in our mind. And as we think about those positive thoughts, we write those too on a piece of paper. You could use 2 different colors, one for negative, one for positive. And then you can see whether your thoughts in the day are generally more negative or positive. That can allow you to think about how you can kind of shift your mindset to try and make it more positive. So a way to actually kind of calm the mind so that you don't get a rush of thoughts all the time, or you're not thinking about the same things, would be to maybe find time during the day to do meditation. I think at a time like this where we're quite stressed, it's worthwhile doing meditation at least twice a day. Now, the meditation doesn't have to be, what we see in the sense of listening to certain, music or sounds or relaxing sounds. You can do that. Meditation can also be prayer. It can also be developing a mindful way of doing things like drinking tea. So when you drink your tea, you drink in a more mindful way, meaning that you can feel the heat, you can taste the spices you might have put in your tea, or even have a nice hot bath, feel the heat as you go into the bath. Feel the bubbles if you put bubbles in there, or even if you're having a hot shower, feeling the heat, hailing the steam. All of that can make a small experience like a shower or a bath quite mindful. So as you're doing all these activities in a mindful way, it's worth to remember to keep engaging your breathing. So breathe in all the good thoughts that you want to breathe into your body with a deep breath, and then breathe out all the thoughts that you want to remove from your body that seem to be getting you down and keep, flooding your mind. And hopefully that will give you some level of clarity. So basically the process of meditation really is a way to feel more kind of calm and relaxed and rational in your thinking, simply because you are in a much more calmer state of mind. So the real essence of meditation is to be able to observe your mind. So in this calm state, you're able to clearly think what is in your mind, how much is in your mind, how much was not necessary to be there. How many things can you remove? So in a sense, it's like putting it on paper. When you remove those thoughts from your mind onto paper, there should be less floating around in your mind. Eventually, what you'll find is, if you continue this exercise of writing things on paper, through the process of meditation and mindfulness, you'll actually have a lot less thoughts flooding out onto the paper because there is a lot less going on within you. Now, this is not all going to come overnight. You're not just going to become a pro at meditation and mindfulness overnight. And you're not just going to find that your thoughts have just suddenly disappeared. This is going to take a lot of practice, and it might mean that you need to revisit this twice a day, every day for, the next week or two. You may find it easier to rewatch the video, or the video before as well that I had recorded that also looked a bit more deeper into different activities of mindfulness. So it does take practice, but I would say stick with it and don't give up. And eventually you will find that you will have a sense of ease. What you need to do is also continue to reward yourself. In the last videos, I did talk about kind of having your own space and me time. And that needs to be there for you to be able to find the opportunity to kind of calm your thoughts down. What you don't want to do is continually keep thinking negative thoughts again and again. And what it does is, through your neural pathways, those thoughts become stronger and stronger and actually become part of your reality, as it were. And again, that's what we were talking about before, that some thoughts are not actually the real reality, but become your reality because of your perception. So with practice, you will be able to identify thought patterns. And through these thought patterns, you will be able to see, which thoughts are very strongly negative. And you can find ways of maybe changing them to become more positive, changing your perception and trying to make things more positive, like we had talked about before, that although, you've got lots to do at home, manage the kids. You know, nowadays most of the women, for example, are doing breakfast, lunch and dinner. Men too, I guess, but particularly I've been hearing from women that are complaining that, you know what, I have to make breakfast in the morning and then I have to make lunch because everyone's hungry and, you know, they don't want to do it themselves, otherwise the whole kitchen's in a mess, and then I've got to make dinner. So 3 times a day I'm in the kitchen already, then I've got to, you know, still work from home, and then the school have sent home a whole load of work you know, that we now have to try and get them to do, because now we're teachers as well, full time. So how do you manage all this? So it's not surprising that our thoughts can be negative, but how can we change them to more positive thoughts? This will happen through the process of taking time out, you know, doing some meditation, you know, clearing your mind. So if you stick with this, over time, what you'll find is that you feel more energized, and you know, you don't feel as sluggish as you used to be. You feel more motivated. And that's simply because less energy is used in the thinking process through the day. And so that's sparing up more energy for you to actually go ahead and do things. And what you need to do with that, take the opportunity when you feel energized to actually start writing a list of all the things that you've never been able to do or you've never been able to manage. And now that you've got the time, you can do, even if it means you don't do it all in one go. What you don't want to do is obviously write an overwhelming list where it actually becomes a massive chore for you. What you want to do is write a list, but understand and remember that this list is only as an extra, and it's there to actually make you feel good. The process of actually ticking off on a list can actually release hormones that make you feel quite positive. It's a task done, it's something I've completed, and it gives you again more energy to move on. Although that kind of energy release is quite short-lived. So what you don't want to do is just rely on the ticking of activities. There's a lot more that we can do, and maybe in the next video we can look at what things we can do and what hormones are released that can give us a bit more energy. Another thing that you can do with the motivation and energy that's released from actually clearing your mind is maybe just go for a run. Literally, there's nothing that you need. You just need to make sure that somebody's in the house to look after their kids, and just leave. Go for that run. You'll actually feel amazing when you get back. So if you can't go out for a run or something because you've got kids at home and you need to look after them, make sure that a room or a space of yours is yours, like I talked about in the previous video, and use that space to do what's good for you. Any other exercise like yoga, Pilates, even just running on the spot, doing star jumps. Actually, Joe, the PE teacher, I mean, that's a good opportunity to actually do some exercise with your children. And even afterwards, I guess you can find him on YouTube and copy some of his exercises later on in the day. So thank you for listening to me today. If there's anything more that you want to know or anything you want me to cover in any upcoming videos, then please do click the link below and send me an email. Wishing you health, well-being and safety. Take care for now. Bye.